Is there a young person reading this book? There's not. I don't think so. But no, I know what you mean though. But they're just not reading those kind of books. Some other good books. Advice to the young person. I don't think it's good to give advice. Like, I think that I would want to do it in a little bit of a different way because I don't want to tell somebody. But maybe the best thing that I can say by way of advice would be to question things.
A.P. Yeah. They Mr. owe me like Aaron, what happened? I can't go backwards, this my new chapter. Move to Atlanta, them trappers and scammers. I pray for my youngins, you talking about practice? On the track I go ape like bananas.
Peace, beautiful family. This is Dr. Walter Hidalgo, and this is the Know Thyself podcast. The Know Thyself podcast utilizes the metaphor of the shelf in order to extrapolate the self. And the way we do that is we invite guests to come in and share something about themselves. And before I introduce my guest, I got to shout out the website, www.knowthyself.tv. If you're looking for home coaching, holla. If you're looking for workshops, specifically around things like social media and bullying, holla at me. Or if you like a copy of my book, Beyond the Four Walls, The Rising Ministry and Spirituality of Hip Hop, you can get a copy there. The next thing that we always do is I always like to shout out a group of individuals. And today, I want to give a big shout out to all my West Coast family. I love it here, yo. In another life, maybe, right? But I specifically want to shout out Cali, man. You know what I mean? I want to shout out all of my fathers, right? If you ever go into therapy, as I have, one of the questions they ask is, what's your relationship like with your father? Very important. I want to give a big shout out to all of my philosophers, yo. You know, again, I always say this, but I forget who said it. An unexamined life is not worth living, right? Philosophy is important. Asking why. Why is the most important thing, right? I want to give a big shout out to anyone who answered the call to do ministry. And I'm specifically referring to my lay ministers. Because as Father Hugo once told me, you don't need to wear the collar to do God's work. Because I got somebody here that I respect, that I admire, and that I'm so proud of. My brother Ray Almanza.
Thanks, Walter. Good intro.
Yes. I'm humble and I'm grateful, yo. I always knew the time would come, and here it is, yo. As we always do, I want to contextualize things. I met Ray through the Marino circuit. Shout out. We're here now, live. We're working on top of, you know, because this is what we do. But if we were to step into a time machine and go back in time to a younger Ray, what would we see? What would we hear? What would we smell? Because you are originally from
Phoenix,
Arizona. I love Arizona. It's a special place, yeah. I want to retire there, by the way. Talk to us about growing up in Arizona.
Well, I'm from the south side, which is because Phoenix is a big metropolitan area, so you have different areas and then neighboring cities. So it's kind of like saying LA, but you don't necessarily live in LA. So, but I did live in the city of Phoenix. There's just a lot of neighboring cities, and I'm from the south side, which was growing up mostly two parts to the community. There was the Hispanic, mostly Mexican side, and then there was African American side. So that was like integrated high school. The high school I went to was like, I think it opened right after like desegregation. So it has that lineage of never having to go through a process. It just began that way.
You know, I'm not surprised that you said South Side, because if you go to many places in this country, the South Side is the hood, man. I'm from the South Side. Yeah, Providence. I lived in the South Bronx. I know people in South Philly, you know, Chicago, like LA, like this South. It's interesting. I always feel like it's a metaphor because the people up top need to be literally up top, and us in the bottom, right? There's a lot of conversation about the black and brown relationship in the West Coast is kind of diminishing. But in your perspective, as someone that lives there, comes from there, I know you don't live there so much, but you still have family there, or you visit still?
Yeah.
What's happening now? What update you can give us?
I honestly can't give you a good update as to now, because now I've been away for like over 10 years in California. So I wouldn't give you a really accurate, just when I was growing up. And when I was growing up, it came down to neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Like, not so much, there's a lot of people that make something out of like conflicts and things like that, but it had to do with just people being in a same space institutionally, like a school, but then coming from a different part of town.
Right.
So there was that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that still exists though. I hope it doesn't, but I really don't know.
Yeah, because the whole what they call it. I mean, we used to have magnet programs. We used to have situations where from other neighborhoods would bus into these schools, but that's not existent anymore. I come from a magnet program. I was in the health and science magnet program at Mount Pleasant High School in Providence, Rhode Island. But keeping it real, we were the smart ones, but the rest of the school was, and I've seen a lot. It was, you know, and it was black. It was very diverse. It was a diverse place. So I'm always interested to see what those dynamics were, because we tend to put things in black and white, but we don't realize that there's a presumed alliance between quote unquote people of color. There's this book called Presumed Alliance from a gentleman that said that just because we are close to the color spectrum, that we're also close in friendship, but that's not always the case. So I wanted to ask you with that, particularly how gang culture infiltrated that as well.
Yeah, I only, like I said, it was like on one side of that.
Yeah.
So I didn't see, it was like super segregated. Even outside of that, that was the neighborhood. I think the majority of the people that I was around were even nationality. It was like not other Hispanic communities. It was like Mexican. And I think still the majority, but at that time it was like almost the immigration demographic.
Right. And not to be an ass, but it used to belong to Mexico, so what do we expect? All right, cool. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, because it's just, you know, reading is one thing, watching videos or hearing it from people, but that first-hand account is so important, especially when we're trying to be in a place of solidarity, coming together as we're trying to do. Speaking of that, so we all know Ray, for those that know Ray, as the philosopher. The philosopher. For me, I had to take philosophy as a criminal justice major and political science minor. I had to take a philosophy course. It was the first time I took it in Boston at Northeastern University. It was very hard. It was very difficult for me. It didn't click, and it became even worse when I went to seminary, because there's so many elements of philosophy and theology, because they're all like different. It's like a kaleidoscope, right? They're all different. It's seen through one lens, but it's all interweaved. What is philosophy, and why is it important?
That's tough. I mean, I would say this is my personal answer.
Please,
because I think everybody has a different version of it. But I'll tell you like how I got into it. That's what my answer is, because when I was like, I would say about 13 years old, I started to just get into questioning things, like just all kinds of questions. And then that led me to start to read. I never really was interested in, like, school was not my initial path of learning. I was like independent. So a lot of it had to do with me asking questions and trying to figure out like I didn't know what I was grasping at initially until I read, the first thing that I read that was like defined in that category of philosophy was Descartes. And I discovered like Descartes' meditations, and when he was describing what philosophy was, I was like, oh, this is the activity that I'm actually engaged in. This is what I think. Like I was doing it, but I didn't, it wasn't formal, it wasn't like to that level of rigor. It was just a type of questioning. And so I've come to see it as an orientation that you have towards life. Like it's, people have personality types, like sometimes you put them into the category of like archetypes. The archetype in those kind of personality assessments is the sage. In one category it could be the sage. If you do like the Myers-Briggs stuff, I think it's INTP.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So it's like a type of person that has an orientation towards life that is all about questions. And so the root of philosophy is love of wisdom, but that usually gets lost. That's not what a lot of. That's why I say it's my idea of it. For a lot of people, philosophy is analytical, it's dry and abstract.
Correct, right.
But the philosophical development, like historically, I see it as getting further and further concrete. It's not abstract to me. To me, it's like ideas have a more substance to them than the material things sometimes, because that's what the stuff is made of, you know, like the world, nature, whatever it is that you're relating to. You think you have this immediate access, but you're accessing the idea that you have of the thing. So the thing can be more concrete if you're oriented to it that way, to understand it by questioning.
You said this like you had like a revelation, you know, like 13, right?
Oh yeah.
13. Okay, so a lot was just happening to me around that time. That's the age where you biophysiologically there's a shift that happens in us. So first of all, so the hormones and our minds shift at that age. I work a lot with young people that age, and but what I wanted to ask you is this. It just came to me as the philosopher of a much more more knowledgeable. You're a father now, and right. What would you tell 13 Ray?
Oh. Well, at that age, that was the beginning. That was very much the beginning of it. And I was searching for certainty. I was like, things should make sense, and I will try to find a way to understand them.
Yeah.
And then by understanding, you have a control, you have a sense of like security. So what I would say now, like this is much later, and I will probably have a different view in another 20 years, but at this point in my life, I just have seen that the certainty that I was looking for as a younger person, it does not exist. And then to attempt to try to grasp things that way and to live life that way, it's just like you're gonna fail, because that's not reality. The type of certainty that's like eliminating nuance,
right,
and then being overly confident in things, like it coincided. So philosophy coincided with religion for me.
Yes,
because the same questions led me to theology. Philosophy and theology were like hand in hand. So the desire to understand God and to know God it's like a good thing. You're seeking it, but that's also the downside, or the dangerous side of that is you want to capture and you want to dominate God. You want to be able to possess God in a way that you fully grasp God. And then the nature of God is to always be beyond you. Like you reach towards the horizon of the transcendent, the divine, but you don't reach it. If you did reach it, that wouldn't be God. That means you've idolized. You have an idol.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I would tell young Ray, you don't have to seek that certainty. You can seek knowledge, you can seek truth and all that, wisdom, but the wisdom will not be that type of certainty.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the quote from the Dalai Lama, I think he said was, keep the company around you who is seeking for the knowledge. Run away from those who think they found it. It's this constant sort of thing. And then for me, I also look at psychology as being the other side of religion, because we use the language to help us try to understand how the psyche and the soul both operate in unison with each other. I'm loving how you gave me the easy alley-oop, because you did it, not me. And that is, you mentioned God. Like, how could you not philosophize and talk about something much more bigger and deeper, right? And the reason I'm asking that is because there's a lot of nuances, as you said, specifically in the world that we're tapped into, and that is of the church. You know, so many people that are marginalized within the church, be it the woman, be it the GBLTQ and others. But I don't really want to get into that part. I more want to just focus on the fact that I don't think it's every day, every day that we see a married man that's not a deacon, and clearly not a priest in our case, in our tradition, but is a lay minister, father, husband, who's dedicating his life and time to do God's work. I'm always amazed at people because, like, you're really intelligent, man. Like, you're really, like, you're light, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, it's a beautiful thing, you know? The people we have here, shout out to Kathleen, she's right here. It's so beautiful. Like, everybody has these gifts, and I see them, it's just all lights. It's all a light, because we're light beings and sound and energy. So you could have been a CEO. You probably could have ran. And it's funny because we flip the capitalism. We pretend we were, and it's like, oh, easy. I really feel like that's, honestly, in my opinion, that's easy. But giving it all away and dedicating your life in this, it's not freaking easy, yo. Why? Why, Ray?
Why? Now I'm thinking, should I have done that?
Exactly. I know.
Well, I mean, I'll give you a short answer. For sure. But short answer is I don't feel I can do otherwise. Like, it's not so much of a choice. It's like, this is my response to being true to myself. If I was to do anything else, I would be abandoning who I am. That's like the short answer. But like, in terms of what do I gain from it and what motivates me, there's a lot. I would say the first thing that I have learned from doing this is that you put people first. So if you do careerism or seeking after trying to get, higher income or more security, more that kind of thing, you have to necessarily put people second, because you have goals, you have achievements, you have to like advance in some way. And then this type of thing could be stuff like community based, it could be NGOs, or it could be ministry. But for me, in this sense of true to my own self, it's ministry. It's a call from God that I feel like God has called me to something in life. But then the benefit, like what do I get from it, what's a perk, is that I would say prior to doing this, obviously I had friends and family, but since I've been doing ministry work, the best people in my life, the people who I'm closest to, have been people I met through doing this. So it's like the fact that I can do that. I put the connection with the person as a priority. And then the outcome, the project is always like, how can I make something work with this person? Or kind of like I mentioned to you, I was like, I like certain things about you. I was like, we should do something That's secondary. The first thing is we have a connection.
That's right. That's right.
So I would say that's it's the people.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing for me. Whenever I see the dedication that you put into this, because it is not easy work, and we're constantly being reminded that this work is not about us. And I will say this, because in another life I would have said something negative, but I'm going to say something positive. And that is this. Yeah, it's not easy, man. Like, I can't tell you how many stuff I dealt with as a lay minister myself, okay? But we don't got time for that. But I will say this. Somehow, some way, God was always there with me by my side. Always. So I want to make sure that I let you know that, because we don't get paid enough. We don't get the accolades. We don't get the support sometimes. We get the bottom end of the barrel, especially as someone who, me specifically, working with young people. The expectations are high, but the dollars are super low. And it's very ignorant for somebody to have these high expectations of me, us, when we don't got the support. That's humans. But for me, I think God is operating somehow, some way. Switch it up real quick. Lightly. Because we are here in the same way that I interviewed Ogechi. Shout out to Ogechi. Episode will be out already by this time. Check it out. We're here because, well, to quote Kathleen, reminding you about flipping tables. But it's we are living in some interesting times. We always say that. It's always an interesting time. The world is always interesting. But our time. This is our time. That's why I like that line from Kanye West when he says to the old person, "Oh, back in my time." No, this is our time. This is our time right now, okay? Because we're living this in our time. The discussions have been around walking prophetically, I'm not going to throw any theological words. I'm not even going to use wineskins. Who the hell, I mean, there might be somebody having wine right now watching this, right? So that's the extent of what I'm going to say, but I just want to know from you, we're here talking about how do we walk together prophetically. What does that mean to you, man? Given the fact that we are in the midway point to this, going into the other side of finishing this journey together.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to say. That could be the rest that we talk about, just that. I mean, the prophetic. First, I would begin with the human dimension of the prophetic.
Yes.
So, yes, the archetype of it is Moses, and then I look at the story. Like if you go to the scripture, the whole concept of the prophets in the scriptures. But I look at Moses as being like an archetype, because the first thing he does, people think of Moses in the burning bush.
That's right.
But even then, there's layers to it. There's like the layer that we just were recently talking about, the archaeological evidence and how it relates to the story, the narrative. But just thinking about the narrative itself, take it as a independent. Let's just assume it's all factual. Mm-hmm. So you look at the story and you see what are the things that happen first. People think Moses goes from the burning bush to this kind of divine inspiration. But the thing that happens prior to that is anger and violence. That's the thing that Moses, he's moved because he recognizes himself in those suffering people. And then he's angry, and then he murders somebody. That's something that people don't talk about.
They forget about that. He killed someone. He had a speech impediment. There's
like violence. So whenever we talk about prophetic, it's not soft topic. It's not. There's violence in it. There's a response to a violent situation, and there's a desire for justice. And so for me, that part, that I would say that's like the human side, and then I'll go to the other part, which is like the burning bush part. But the human side, my personal story is, I was I was not like a conscious, socially aware person during my high school age. It was very abstract. That discovery I had of philosophy and theology, it was at an abstract level. My relationship to it was theoretical. And so I remember right before I got to college, I was doing community college, I was doing some coursework, but also working with my dad. And he did construction work. And so I was saying, you know, I'm from the south side, so we commute to the richer areas to do like building like $40 million homes. That's the kind of stuff that he was doing working for this company. There was a lot of times, because we had Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who people will recognize that name if they're from the area. He's like infamous racist sheriff who was just out to do anti-immigrant things. And so they even took him to court. Like this all went to it was a whole political thing. He was taken out, he was sued. But they had this whole case about pretextual stops, which is, the pretextual stop means they follow the letter of the law. They pull people over for cracked windows, tint on the windows, but they're not stopping you for that. They're stopping you because they're trying to see if there's any undocumented people in the car. And so there was this one time I was coming home and my dad was, sometimes I drive, sometimes he drives. That day I happened to be the one driving, and the cops are just like pulling people over for no reason. They're just going like this.
Where's this at?
This is Scottsdale, Phoenix, North Phoenix.
I like Scottsdale.
I know Scottsdale's beautiful, but
but keep going.
we're not welcome there. So that was the thing. So anyway, they're pulling people over, and there's a line of people, and you see like some people sitting on the sidewalk. They're arrested. They're just pulling people over, and they told us after the whole thing, they don't tell you right away why they pulled you over. So I was already like, what's going on here? Why are you pulling us over? And I didn't have my ID that day. So the sheriffs are asking me why am I driving, and I told them I drive, sometimes he drives, I'm with my dad. We're just coming home from work, and we're in a work truck. We have all equipment and stuff in the back. And he started to question my dad, like he was like, have you been drinking? And I'm like, we have like our uniform from work. We're like, obviously, like we've been doing construction.
Right.
And then he just, as he was pushing it, my dad's a very humble, very calm person. He was telling me, oh, it's okay, don't worry. And then they were like, well, we want to see your ID, because they wanted to check he wasn't, and I was like, but I'm driving. You don't need to see his ID. And my dad's like trying to be peaceful about it and say, no, it's okay. So he's pulling out his wallet, and then the cops are like, well, why is he taking so long to get his ID out? Like, are you driving because he was drinking? And they kept pushing this point, and there was just nothing to do. And then they were like, why do his eyes look red? And my dad's he always looks like that, just from age, from work, all that stuff. Well, but the thing is, at that moment, I was just like Moses, like the rage, getting angry, because I was becoming aware of what was happening. But at the level of not a personal prejudice, a systemic thing that exists between a power dynamic. Like I recognized it, and I was like, I just became aware of something I wasn't aware of previous. So I think from that point, that was my, like Moses encountering injustice. And then I didn't know what would result from it, like where would I go from there? But that changed me. Like that's where the turning the tables was first. That's where I was first born. Like I had a desire to be like this. This is injustice, that because my dad to me has such a high status. Like I have reverence for my dad, and the way they talk to him, and my inability to do anything because these people, they're armed. If you even are disrespectful to police, you have to be aware of how you act. You have to keep your composure. They don't have to do any of that. They can cuss you out. They don't have to do any of that. But we have to maintain that. We have to be. So I think from that point, this is all my retrospective analysis. But in the moment, you're talking to like 18-year-old kid. Like I'm surprised I was able to
compose yourself,
to keep it together. And then, so anyway, that's the human anger dimension. but also the encounter to the human social structures. So I became socially aware of what injustice looks like in a personal way.
Yeah.
But what happened later through my development is I connected faith and religion to this other sense of the righteous anger. I was able to find, and the way I did that is the prophetic. I found within religion, like all the religions, you can find this dimension of, maybe they don't call it prophetic, but like you have Buddhism as a response to a certain type of structure in Hinduism. And it's a justice element. You see it in Islam, has a huge justice element. So I think all the faiths have this kind of a duality of it, that there's something that calls you above the world, above the human experience, because you're attracted to a transcendent thing, but you're not called to it to exit the world. You know those little stickers that they have, not of this world, the Christian evangelical type of thing? Yes. It's not to exit the world. It's to receive something. That's what the prophetic does. The prophet, they receive something from God. God speaks to them, and it's to come and make something happen in the world. It's not just to be like, I'm going to exit the world, I'm going to have my peace, I'm going to go to heaven. That's like my reward for good behavior. No, you get that transcendent experience. That's the burning bush. So you get that transcendent experience because that's the thing that strengthens you to confront the human injustice. So to me, that prophetic thing is, those are the two elements, but that's in me. And then the other part, the walking together, is that I cannot do it. Like, I'm incapable of doing that by myself. So I had to find people and be like, you identify, like how you identify, we have a connection. Yeah. It's because I identify something and I'm like, I can walk with you because we have the same goal.
Right.
Like, even if we do it in different ways, we have different interests, but there's some goal, some relationship that I'm like, I'm not alone in that struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like that, I've been going along, meeting people and trying to get that.
Yeah.
That's the walking together. It's community based.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? You just literally made me think of this. Walking together prophetically is not us. It's God connecting us based on these similar circumstances and situations. You know what's interesting is that I remember we all met at my parents' house one time, and my cousin was there. My cousin, who, by the way, crossed the border 4 times, never got caught. Like, real stuff, okay? And it was like 20 of us. I don't know, somehow we all connected. Family sometimes, surprise, I'm here, yeah, all right, we gotta, right? And somehow conversations came up about the police. My family's like really diverse. Like my sister's married to a Haitian, like even through marriage, but even us, like we're very diverse. Like my cousin looks Chinese. Like, we used to call my sister Chinita because she looked Asian. She looked just black, straight hair. That's stereotypes and ignorance, but we're very diverse. Like, some of us are like light eyes, blue eyes, like my whole dad's side, but my mom, curly hair, brown, and all of us had a bad experience with cops. The women, the men. Even though it's funny, a lot of times the woman will say in many cases they got away with it just from being a woman. And we talk about like feminism and masculinity, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, if I was a female and a cop pulled me over, I don't know. I mean, But aside from that, that's not even the point. I just, for what struck to me is because you shared this story. I'm not going to share the 50,000 situations I had me with cops or the people that I was around. You said tinted windows. I always had to, you've been in my car, yeah. So that's why I always drive nice, because the car, the tints, it's psychologically still in me as a grown man, right? But it's this line from Big Pun. He goes, even Jesus was arrested by the police. Every prophet, every person that has spoken up, man or woman, has to deal with the criminal justice system, because it's not God's system, it's human system, right? And it's Dr. King wrote a lot of prophecy and work while in jail, the letter in Birmingham. So I wanted to just really emphasize that because some would call it righteous anger. You know, it's very difficult for me as someone that's working on his anger because I've used it for not good things too. So it's how do we fight the system in a way prophetically that is more inviting to even our enemies, but still creates change, and it's extremely hard. And we're not going to solve this overnight. So, with that being said, as we always do in the Know Thyself, is we invite guests to share something that comes from their shelf. My brother Ray, what you share for us today, my man?
Yeah, I was trying to keep it secret, but it keeps.
That is nice. Yes.
So maybe you could do a picture and then
yeah.
share
Or just do this, pop it up like that. Yeah.
When you played something earlier, I don't remember what it was, but you were at the front over there, and then something came on the screen. You were like, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
So this is a Huichol art. The Huichol are indigenous community from Mexico, but the region they move around, so they're from different regions, but the place where they live at least seasonally is in Jalisco. And other parts. You know?
Huichol? I know.
And they're known for this type of art with beads. So it has like the color. There's a lot to why this thing is what I wanted to talk about. But one is it represents this desire to embrace that side of my heritage, which is being part of a colonized culture. All of that gets erased. I know there's indigenous because like the color of my skin, my family, the people I know. I know one great grandparent who was from the Tarahumara, which is a tribe in Chihuahua, northern Mexico.
Yes.
But there's also, historically, all the mixtures that happen with the mestizos. So it just represents that sense of connection. The color, because like if you notice this kind of thing that I'm wearing, this is the colonial me, using the typical type of thing that, the way we dress in this country, the way that I've been kind of assimilated culturally. But I like to try to pull pieces and things, like I have these shirts that use the sarape designs.
Yes.
It has a little pop of color. This kind of thing, because it's not that I can't authentically just wear all decked out in that, because I'm like a detribalized, I like that word, detribalized indigenous, because I'm not trying to culturally appropriate someone else's practices. But I do want to honor the part of my heritage that has that element. So that's what this represents to me. But the cool thing about this is it's an eagle with two heads, which is one of their symbols. And to me, this is like philosophy.
It always goes
philosophical
back.
Symbol. It represents the discernment of good and evil. It's like two sides, the
yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang, the opposition.
The
but
duality.
Also duality and negation. I think that would be like kind of a key expression. So you want to avoid like the really dense theological, but I just want to get a little bit of philosophical stuff. So the negation, when it comes to like liberation, the difference between when people talk about the good stuff like freedom, justice, that kind of, or just let's just say freedom and peace. There's a difference in the development of like Hegel's logic, which acknowledges historicity, because if you have the principle of identity like Aristotelian logic, you have there's no difference in the syllogism where A is A, you have A equals A, and then you have the negation of A, so you have like a minus and the A.
Oh my God, this is like philosophy. Like my professor did that
philosophy
same thing.
101.
Exactly, that's
so
the fact. Yeah.
In the logic, it seems like they're the same because the result's the same. It's a principle of identity.
It's true, yeah.
But in Hegel, there's historicity to the negation of the negation. So there's a difference between, you could have two people that are free, but one of them was always free, they never have been an oppressed person, and one of them is a liberated person. That's the negation of the negation. So they had to come from a history of oppression to arrive at freedom, versus somebody who has been like a dominant in a dominant community.
Right.
So that kind of duality. That's the type of thing. It's my, like I was going back to the beginning, my orientation to the world of philosophy, the philosophical orientation. I think this is kind of like a symbol of it, having that perspective.
Right. So maybe there is the reason why the divine brought us together, because it looks a little familiar. And I think, no, this is so important because, oh man, don't let me go deep, but I'll go 2.5 seconds deep, and that is this. I reference a lot of, I did a lot of my research on Kabbalah mysticism. And one thing that I enjoy from my Semitic brothers and sisters, specifically the Jews, is that even the clothes you wear has energy and spirituality associated too. Meaning, for example, if the day you broke up with someone, on that day the clothes you were wearing had so many tears and anger and sadness, that energy has now been placed on that clothes. So some people just burn it off and completely let it go. And it's kind of the same thing with, like, be wise of what this body that God gave you, what you put on it. And even though we're not trying to culturally appropriate, because you and me are kind of on the same level, I'm 10 years strong for me reliving my life with this, going back to who I am. Because I'm not just this, I'm that, and I'm not that, I'm more this, and sometimes I'm this. Don't put me in a mother effing box. Never, because we do that with God. Don't do that with me. And I am God, and you are God too. So I think still, nevertheless, having this, the energy that comes into your body. Some people believe the stones and all that stuff, right? The energy that helps blood flow. But just having in close proximity is enough to say that I'm a seeker, and it's like a badge. And then eventually you're going to develop into more the more you meet people that belong to your tribe, the human family tribe.
But just to, I'll just mention that you're also one of the inspirations for that kind of thing too.
No way.
When I first met you, I think I told you, but I definitely talked to my wife about it. I was like, Walter has such a good style. I was like, I need to be more like Walter.
Stop, no, Kevin.
My sense of style is very muted, but you have a lot of that. You bring those elements, and then you bring color, and I think that's been part. You have like rubbed off a little bit in that.
But way. You know what's crazy, Ray?
Do I look like Walter?
No, it's, you know what? It's funny is that because you know, we come out of the womb, like Dr. West says, between piss and shit, right? Like, yeah, yo, like that's deep. Like we're dirty, mother. We're dirty. But it's like, you know, I have my past too and stuff, right? Like that I'm repenting for still to this day. Like we're constantly cleansed, like Moses. That's why, you know, I love that you said Moses. The reason I love Moses, you didn't finish the burning bush thing, but I always love the part where Moses said, you know, why me, Lord? You know, like, why me? And he goes, don't question. Like, basically, like, don't question me. I know what the hell I'm doing. So I stopped questioning now. Like, I still do. I'm like, why me, Lord? Because, you know, but what I do is maybe this is the walking prophetic. Anytime I speak in front of people, or even one-on-one, I always just tell myself, Lord, just use me. Please, this is just my shell that's confused and trying to figure it out. But just come through me and just you talk, like the bush. Like you let this person, you, me, Kathleen, the others know that no, it's okay and you have a purpose. What's the you're a dad, you're a philosopher, you're a lay minister, you so many hats, right? I always ask this question, no matter who's next to me, and that is just what's one advice you would give to these young people that are trying to follow your path? Because there's a young Ray in the making somewhere that's trying, the 13-year-old
Reading.
that's trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Is there a young person reading? There's not. I don't think so. But no, I know what you mean though. But they're just not reading those kind of books. Some other good books. Advice to the young person. I don't think it's good to give advice. Like, I think that I would want to do it in a little bit of a different way, because I don't want to tell somebody. But maybe the best thing that I can say by way of advice would be to question things, because develop the sense of critical thinking, critical perspective, and then meta analysis, which is I think whenever I go into conversations, that's something that I see is missing. People are always like this, like if you watch a movie, people will talk about, we watched the movie, right? Yeah. And then we talked about what happened in the movie. What did we see? Like, your focus here. So I say to step back and broaden it, to do the meta-analysis, which is the ends of the book, like beyond the covers of the ends of the book. Yeah. Which is, well, who is telling the story? Why are they telling? That's not in the movie. That's the meta-analysis is in the outside, beyond, or beyond or after or above. So looking at being critical thinker, critical perspective, and doing meta-analysis, which means step back and go further.
That's right. I love how you use the book as an analogy, because even books have margins.
Yeah,
you feel me? Yeah. Like, write your notes in the margin, because it's like, we're just reaching this amount. But dude, probably just this paragraph, you need like 80 other books to support it, right? That's the research. That's the journey. Yeah. If people want to connect with Ray Almanza, look for you, build with you, philosophize with you, right? Or just do the work, do the ministry, to build coalitions. Yeah. Give us your contact information and all that stuff, Ray, or how people can find you.
You can put it in there, the tag, but I would say Instagram. Instagram's the main way, and then it's just my name, Ray Almanza. I think there's an underscore in there, but I'll give it to you. And I have a website which has my blog, but
that's right.
It's not been updated, but I'll probably update it for this, so that there'll be up-to-date stuff there. Okay. But Instagram's the most easiest way and the most up-to-date, because I put things there that are related to the work I do with Marino.
Yes.
But also, that's just I use it also like the professional page.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Ray. As my brother, Nori, in the Drink Champs podcast always says, I love it, we got to give flowers to people while they're still alive, man. And I want to give you your flowers, your dandelions, your sunflowers, your tulips, because I'm so proud of you, man. Because I'm just always like, I could have been dead or arrested, man. But God said, nope, I got another plan. So it's like, you're here and you exist. And you're doing this because it would have been easy just to punch that police officer in the face. You know what I mean? And then it would have been over. But it's like, wow, man, you took this call, you accepted the call, and I wanted to say it's interesting. That's why I always say, you don't need to wear the collar to do God's work, because at the age of 13, in the same way for me, it was age 10, I had a mystical experience. I won't get into it, but it's always a call, something that's pushing you. Every priest or someone who takes the vows always tell you it's something that's pushing them. Pushed you, pushed me, pushed our sister over there, and it's pushing so many other people. And I just hope people accept that call. And it's a rope tuggle thing, right? And if you ever done that exercise, sometimes you give, sometimes you go, sometimes you give. As we always do in the Know That Shall podcast, we end with a quote. I shared this quote with you before. Shout out to Coach Mike Dubé from the Elite Method, because he introduced me to this quote. Now I'm using this quote. And it comes from Muhammad Ali. And it reads as such. Oh my God. Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. You better pay that rent, man. Peace, family. Yeah.